My channel, Handmade by Ying with Donna. Today is February the 6th, 2023, and I am totally over the moon stoked for tonight's interview with none other than T. It has been an honor and a privilege to follow you on your channel and get to know you, and now I lucked out and got you for a sit and chat for a bit.
Yes, I thank you for your patience, Donna, because you've been trying to get me on for a while, and I've just had a very hectic life in the last 9 months or so. So I appreciate your patience. That's the main thing. I want people to know she's very patient.
It's called perseverance. I'll keep moving that date, but I'm never going to drop you.
Not really. I just feel like, I didn't say no, and I didn't mean no, and you took it as that. So I appreciate that.
Absolute. And so for those that don't know, T has recently became a fabulous grandma. Now, what is your grandma name going to be? Did you pick it, or are you going to wait on the baby to pick it?
I decided to pick Gigi.
That is awesome.
So I'm doing Gigi. And that's also a name that originated from Africa. I researched a lot of things. And so I researched all the names that you could be called as a grandma. And so that's what I went with.
I love it. Like my grandma name was going to be Nana, basic, after my mother, because she was the Nana of the family. And my middle granddaughter, she changed that to Ying Ying. She was in Chinese, and my phone was ringing all the time. And so in Chinese, Ying Ying is grandma.
Okay, so I'm flexible too.
So I just love it.
I'll be flexible too. If she decides to call me something else, I'll be okay with that as well.
That's how I was. I was like, what? And I thought it was because I was state president. My phone was always going ring, 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 ring. And she would go, Ying Ying, Ying Ying. So, I'm going to slip into the chat real quick and welcome everyone.
Okay.
So with all of that being said, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's live. It's going to be fast and furious. Any questions that you do have, please ask them tonight in the chat. I do have several questions that we will be hitting. I have pinned T's YouTube channel in the top of the chat. So if you are not subscribed or have not checked her out yet, please do. She's got a wealth of knowledge over there. And I'd greatly appreciate you slipping over, giving her a look, seeing if you like what you see, subscribe. Maddie, hello and welcome. She's so excited to see T there and giving us some loving. Dahlia Short, hello. I'm excited for this interview. See you in a bit. Hey, Donna Tucker, Zandra, Brenda Foley. Okay, I'm going to start there and just hit it. When T sewed garments, did she sew on consignment for customers, and did she teach garment sewing?
So I actually started sewing for myself because I like unique things. And when you buy your clothes from the store, everybody has them. So I actually started sewing while I was on maternity leave in 1986. And made clothing. I roller skate every Friday. And so I made it a goal every week to have on a different outfit. And I even had matching headbands.
Oh,
and it was
cool.
I was about 2 or 3 months in, and one of the skaters had to actually stop me and go, where do you buy your clothes? And I had to tell her that I make them. But for sewing for others, I made one outfit for a baby doll, an 18-inch size doll. And the customer was so persnickety about clothing for a doll. And it's on a smaller scale. And I just decided I would never sew for anyone clothing wise on consignment. So only one and done.
Absolutely. I see you on that one. I couldn't do it. Katie G, hello. Zandra, hello. And Dahlia's working the chat for me, and I greatly appreciate it. Kathy, hello. Katie, let me see. Good evening, everyone. Hello, quilters and crafters. Ingrid Bowser, hello, honey, and welcome. Haven't saw you in a bit. You're always welcome over here. Teresa McCormick, very exciting. And I'm just skimming. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and ring the bell for notifications for when Handmade by Ying goes live. Thank you, Del. Let me see. Question for T. Do you make any quilts based on your culture that you would like to share with us? Very good
I
question.
I have made a few quilts based on with African prints. However, they're inside of a lecture, except for one that's like outside my room. I'm still working on it. And Donna has a good representation behind her. I actually sell African fabrics as well. And so she's working on a project we're going to talk about later. And I do have some, I just don't have anything in this particular room. This is basically my sewing room and my video room. And I'm basically working. I do most of my work actually on the back of my long arm. I multitask. It takes up a lot of space, so I cut there. I do my filming of actual videos that I upload, and so I cut there from my electronic cutting machine. So I do everything in a different room for the most part. I'm just here for lives and piecing. I do some piecing here.
Yeah, my room's kind of like that too. Space is a premium.
It's a very small room.
Absolutely. Trying to skim down. Marla, hello, sweetheart, and welcome. Shelley Clark, hello. Tucker Sewing and Quilting, TeaQuilts.
Hey, Tucker.
Welcome, sweetheart. Sewing Sensations by Susan is in the house. So Terry, hi all, nice to see you, T. Shelley Clark, just skimming straight down. Yo, Patty G is in the house. Hi, darling. Hello, Donna and T. T has to be one of the most creative and giving quilters I've ever known, not to mention the best retreat host. We're going to talk about those retreats because I hear what's happening at these retreats. I just got to go. I've got to check it out firsthand. So trust me, we're going to be hitting that retreat stuff here too tonight. And I'm telling you, the word of mouth says you don't want to miss. Amy, hello, everyone. I'm going to listen while I pack. She's getting ready to head for family time and then off to her. She's got a retreat, I believe, somewhere in Alabama, but don't quote me. Patty G, how are you? They're talking. Julie Quilts is in the house. Delia, I want to make sure because I caught some flack for not telling everybody hello, so I don't want to upset anybody. I have some fabric, but I've always looked for more. The fabric is so bright and vibrant and beautiful. Absolutely. I'm telling you, this fabric is the bomb. I've never worked with it before, and I've already told her to hang on to me tonight when we're done because this girl needs some more of it. It's good stuff. So she also sells some fabric. I'm not sure how much, but we're going to find out here directly. Chiquita, hello, sweetheart, and welcome. So that's it for me for the chat tonight. I'm going to pass it over to Joe, my husband. He will handle the chat and highlight anything and all information that I need to be privy to. So y'all chat amongst yourself. Feel free to ask away and we'll get some answers. We're going to dig deep. Get started into quilting, sweetheart.
All right. So I started actually what inspired me to quilt probably is more important, and that was at age 5. I had a great aunt. My family moved to St. Louis, Missouri area right before I was born. I was the first person in my family born in St. Louis, and my father moved here for the military. And we used to go back and visit in the South all the time. I mean, my mom would just get off work on a Friday, already have the car packed with clothes, and we just go on this adventure. And so I had a great aunt there that quilted. But back in that time, when you're a kid, you don't ask for anything. You don't speak until you're spoken to. Yep. And other kids were all out playing. And I was following this lady around as she was doing her chores because I wanted her to get to the quilting part. I wanted to see those beautiful, vibrant fabrics. And she was basically just making things with clothing. She never once taught me anything. And then she passed. She was my great aunt, as a matter of fact. So she passed. Aww. But I've always had in the back of my head those quilts that she made that were very colorful. So I always wanted to sew, but grew up in a poor family. My father ended up passing when I was 5. So my mom was taking care of 8 children. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay, sweetheart.
My mom was taking care of 8 children by herself. and she was working. So I never asked for a sewing machine. I just knew that something wasn't right in my house. I was one of those kids that could pick up on certain
Right.
things. Not, we always, wasn't like we knew we were poor, but I just felt like we really don't have as much money as we think either.
Right.
So when I went on maternity leave was when I actually got my first sewing machine. So that was in 1986, started sewing because I was afraid of quilting, thinking that quilting was difficult because of all the little pieces. Whereas making clothing, it was big pieces, pair of pants, 4 pieces. If you want pockets, 4 more,
Right.
So it wasn't a whole lot of pieces. So I started sewing first and then went to, the famous word that get us quilters all the time is free.
Yep. Hook me
I
in.
was in Sofro Fabrics, which is no longer available now. And I was in there buying stuff for clothing, and they had a free quilting block of the month, and it was for Christmas, and it started in July. And every month they gave us 2 blocks of the month. So I just went home with this free paper and decided that I would make a quilt. And I didn't buy anything because they had on here for you to buy all this stuff. So I went home and I started using, like, I've made Christmas placemats and stuff over the years. So I had a little bit of Christmas fabric. So I just started making the blocks with what I had. Of course, I ran out of fabric and I had started buying a little bit, when the block of the months came out. And then I got to the point like, you know what? I'm not going to spend any more money. This is just for them to make money.
Yep.
And so I started using clothing fabric. I have a block in there that has linen. I have gold lame. It's a hot mess of a quilt, but it's beautiful in its own little way.
Absolutely.
So that's what got me quilting. And I actually had that quilt hanging the month of December. I went out on December 1st, got my 2 blocks. And in a couple of days, I had that quilt put together because I had already pieced the other parts, got it quilted. Not much quilting. That's funny too. And but I had that quilt hanging for Christmas in 1994. So that's
How
why I say that
awesome.
TeaQuilt is established in 1994, but I actually started sewing in 1986.
How awesome is that?
Yeah,
That's,
but just from my aunt, and I made a couple of quilts that remind me of the quilts that she used to make, just a hodgepodge of everything.
yeah.
And they're just in storage, but I do have a few of those.
Oh, that's cool though. Like, I never had anyone in my family quilt, and COVID caused me to go to mask making. And then I was like, I think I can use these scraps to make a little quilt for my daughter.
Yeah,
And then
that's
it
the
all
one
exploded.
positive.
It all
That's the one
exploded.
positive of COVID. A lot of people started sewing, and it started with masks and couldn't even buy sewing machines. And now a lot of those people still are sewing. Some of them are not sewing or quilting, but it did increase the number of quilters during COVID.
Oh, absolutely. Because Lord knows it was not on my bucket list for retirement. I'm telling you. How old were you when you think you made your first quilt?
So I was 22, maybe 22.
That's not bad.
No, I wasn't. I know I wasn't. I was like, I'm doing 80. I'm going from 86. See, that was 94. So almost 30, I guess, before I made a quilt. 29.
Oh, cool. That's not bad at all. So an aunt basically taught you a little bit by watching, but not really teaching.
Not really teaching. When I taught myself, when I first got those quilt patterns from the store as a sewist, and they wanted me to use a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm coming from sewing where we use a 5/8 inch of a seam. And I almost said, you know what, these people are nuts. I was in my head, this quilt's gonna fall apart. I'm going to just go ahead and sew with 5/8 inch. And had I done that, I would have had a mess, because we all know that it's not going to match up with the pieces that you've cut in the other sizes. But I wasn't thinking about that.
Right.
And something said, girl, just figure out what a 1/4 inch seam is, because that was the first thing. And then go ahead and do that. So I'm actually a self-taught quilter. I made about 3 or 4 quilts and then decided to take 2 classes. And one class was a carpenter's wheel, which they said was an intermediate class. And I'm like, well, I made a whole quilt by myself. So, it's naiveness in quilting is great. It really is, because you will learn a lot.
Absolutely. I remember one of my first quilts was a carpenter, and I was just like, what did I get myself into?
This is not the today's carpenter wheel where they're using half square triangles. I'm talking about the one where we had to do set-in seams, 45 degrees.
That's what I had to do.
Yes. Today they got these half square triangles and everything's made easier. It wasn't like that back then.
And I'm YouTube University taught and trial and error and seam ripping, and this ain't gonna work. And I'm kind of like with you as far as like the 1/4 inch. I didn't stick to it so much. I was like, that ain't gonna matter. And I couldn't see all the lines here to know what a 1/4 inch was.
Right. I was just glad that I did not do what I thought I was gonna do. And then my second class was this Borgello class. And for some reason, it wasn't the Borgello that I loved about that class. I loved the project. Yes, it was the instructor. I felt that this woman, I could ask anything that I needed to know in the future. And she answered all of my dumb, crazy questions. And I never took another class. And then I started teaching another group. We had a group that met. It was an African-American quilters group that met in the city. And so I started teaching them how to do stuff. And we were making charity quilts and things like that as in the process of that learning. But I was hooked, and I don't make clothing, haven't made clothing from that point unless it's quilted clothing.
That makes sense, though.
Isn't that weird? I was making 2 and 3 outfits a week, and then went to quilting and don't do it anymore unless it's quilted clothing.
You're just not looking back.
Well, nowadays it's cheaper to buy your clothes than it is to make it, because fabric is so costly. Whereas when I first started sewing, it was cheaper for me to make my clothes than it was to buy them. So that's what's changed, is the price of fabric.
I think so too. Let me see. How does your family feel about your quilting? Do they support you in it? I think I done knocked my rock.
I have a sister that, she harasses me about my crafting and stuff, but then she's come to me a time or two needing to use those services. So
there you go.
But for the most part, my family is supportive. I would say some of them may not fully understand what I do. Like most people, they don't understand how much quilting costs. I still have a few that probably think a quilt costs $50, but I have educated my family that's in my immediate surroundings.
Right.
I have definitely educated them, and I have given quilts to almost every family member in my family, and I've seen the ones that appreciate them, and I've seen the ones that have, given it to the dogs.
Yeah.
You have to just keep moving.
Yeah.
And I just know that person doesn't value quilts, so don't make them anymore.
Exactly. I agree. Some's quilt worthy and some's wall hanging.
Right.
Worthy,
Right.
You can tell the difference.
Once you give it away, it's out of your control. So.
Absolutely. But I can guarantee you that I'm a one and done. My sister calls me the one-hit wonder. If they don't like the first time, they ain't getting a second.
Right.
Do you have a separate quilting room? And obviously you have your recording aspect, and then you like your fabric. Is that all like in with your long arm and all that?
That fabric is mostly in with my long arm, and then this room has a closet where I have some fabric stored. And then I have we have fabric over the whole house except for the kitchen and the bathroom.
If I could get rid of the dishes and store it really pretty, all the colors.
I have fabric in my buffet. I gave away all the dishes,
I would use paper plates. We don't need them. I need room for more fabric. Do you label all of your quilts?
I label every quilt, because when I first started, I didn't know the true value of labeling quilts when you're especially self-taught and not, you can remember everything. One of the best things that I did was, even when I first started quilting, for some reason, I started my website. It wasn't for business purposes. I just decided I was going to make a website and have a virtual library of the quilts that I made originally. So if not for that, I would have had a bigger mess of not knowing when I made quilts like 7 years later when I realized how important labels are. But I put a label on every quilt that I make, even a charity quilt. I'll just put TeaQuilts on it, and I don't put any, and I put a year, and I don't put any other information on it. But
yeah,
I at
put
least
the
try to
year it was.
document.
Yep, I have my label that has my name on it. Then I write the year on it, and then I write a number. We started with 0001, you know.
Okay, now
And
that's awesome. Hadn't thought about numbering. That's cool.
yeah, that way if it ever surfaces after I'm long gone, you know what I mean? My husband, kids, or whatever, it means the world to me. But if they say, hey, did you make this? And when did you make it? I can pull it up real quick.
So that's
it's
cool.
Just, yeah, someone gave me that tip a long time ago in the very beginning. So we're up to like 130 something on quilts. So
I keep an Excel sheet. So I do know my projects and stuff. I put everything in Excel sheet, and I maybe have like 3 or 4 spaces where I got a question mark for when it was made.
Right.
But other than that, I have everything documented.
Tracy over the sewing channels popping in to tell us hello. You two sweet ladies. Hello, darling.
Hi,
Welcome. We love you, Tracy. So let me see. What kind of fabrics do you prefer to use? Is there a separate line? Is it all eclectic? I don't know a darn thing about this fabric other than I fell in love with it.
I use all fabric lines. I think there's a few things in city-wise. I did, like I said, I found a group of African-American quilters, but they were in the city of St. Louis, and most of the quilt guilds are in the counties of St. Louis. And so I wanted to join quilt guilds, and I was the minority in that guild. And so I didn't feel comfortable like initially coming out with what I wanted to do. So, but for as fabrics, I enjoy all fabrics. I have a few favorite lines. I'm one of those people, I still like Fossil Fern from Benartex when it first came out in the 90s or so. I like, I like a lot of K-Facets, and I'm not a huge Tula Pink fan. I'm like a line fan, not necessarily all of her stuff. I just like particular parts of it.
Right.
It's other ones that I like that I'm probably blocking right now, but I do. Fossil Fern is my staple. It was one of those fabrics that I would hate to cut because at the time they had stopped producing it. Now that they're back producing it, I'm able to start back using it again, and they're even making it in quilt bags.
Yeah,
but fabric-wise, I'm all over the place because I was decorating for the holidays in my home, so I have all themed fabric. I do novelty quilts, so I like that. And I actually like seeing some novelty prints in my quilting, because you'll be having a quilt one day and maybe you'll see a witch or a snowman or something, and it just make you smile while you're using that particular quilt. So
absolutely. We've got some questions that have come in. Please tell me about quilt car you have pick of on your website.
I do have a 3 video series on my YouTube channel. It's called the Mariner's Quilt, the car Mariner, because that's what it was made for. I actually made that. I had for our quilt show, and I had a friend who has since passed. We had made a pact that we were going to start in the next following year, like February or March, and we were going to make this car quilt together. And unfortunately, she passed in January of the year. And we were distraught about her passing. She was in my small group guild as well as my large group guild. So she was a really close friend, knew her family very well. And so when she passed, you kind of get into a slump and you're just living day to day. Our group we weren't as productive as we used to be. And I looked up, and it's August and our quilt show is in September. Ouch. And then something just came over me, and I think it was my friend telling me, girl, get up and go make that car quilt. So I got up and I made that car quilt in about 30 to 40 days, every day, every waking hour that I was home, and I worked full time. I was working on that quilt until the sun went down when I could be outside. And then when I was inside, I was trying to figure out, just piece some other stuff together just to get it started so that I could drape it over the car the next day. So I worked on that thing. It cost me a lot of hours, but it was also one of those things that got me over my friend's death too. And it was in honor of her. And the front hood part was I have a scrap quilting club. I do a lot. We'll talk about that later. But on the hood of that car, I took blocks that she had made from one of my assignments, and I put that on the hood of my car in honor of her. So that's what's on the hood. But I have a video explaining how I did it and how I got measurements and all of that kind of stuff.
That is cool.
I was nuts. I will admit that I was nuts.
No, it's part of the grieving process, and that got you through it. And
I
then
had
we're
never
probably
seen
whacking you going, do it, girl.
Right.
Do it.
And I had never, that's the reason why we were doing it on my car, was because we had never seen it on an SUV. We've always seen them on cars, but never on an SUV at that time. So
that's cool. You have another question. Do you document other items that you make if you make anything like a placemat, table runner, or bags?
I do document most of those things. Like, I didn't document that I made name badges for retreat, stuff like that. But I do document if I make placemats and I give them to somebody or something like that. A wall hangings, all of that gets documented. Anything that's quilted most definitely gets done. And most of my bags are quilted too, because I like to have my fibers all together instead of the bagginess of them being apart.
Right.
It's just a personal thing I like. So I tend to quilt just about everything.
Oh, absolutely. So what all kinds of stuff do you got your hands in? I know the quilt retreats.
Okay, let's start
the fabric, so let's just go right in.
So from my guild, like I said, I'm self-taught, so very prolific at the time. I would go into guild meetings having like 5-6 projects every month completed. And so as I kept doing that, they would start asking me if I would teach a class. I'm like, I'm not a teacher, so I kind of ignored that. And then I was at a quilt show, and somebody asked me would I come to they had a sewing back, and they didn't have any teacher, and asked me would I teach. So I did that. So I started teaching. And then from there, one of those students in that class asked me would I do a lecture. And I'm like, no, I don't do lectures. In my head, I'm like, I'm barely teaching, you know? So then I started doing lecturing. So once you go to one guild in an area and everybody know, because they're looking for people local, because it's cheaper than bringing in the national speakers. They'll bring in 1 or 2 national speakers a year. They're really looking for local people to teach at the guilds. And so I started being passed around. So once you go to one and people give you word of mouth, people are members of more than one guild, and they go, oh, she did a great program, you should get her. And so I started getting contact that way. So I was teaching and lecturing. Then I went and the YouTube channel came up, and I was on YouTube already for line dancing, not for quilting.
Really?
Yes, line dancing of all things. And so then people, when I was giving all the classes and lecturing, people would ask me, for some reason, people have in their head that sewing machines make quilts and not the person who's running the sewing machine. So I would get the questions, what type of sewing machines do you have? How do you do this when you're picking fabrics for stack and whack? What fabrics will work? And so that actually was my first video series. And I was just holding a camera, just standing there, like not taking it serious, but just providing information about, look at these fabrics and this will work, this won't. And then I pulled out a mirror and showed them a little bit on the mirrors. So kind of using YouTube to answer my redundant questions.
And I like that. That's a fabulous way to do it.
And so then I kept doing lectures and workshops, and then COVID hit. And I was already in the process of getting myself set up as a business because I had got a long arm. I was quilting for a few people. I wasn't really advertising it because I bought it just to finish my projects originally.
Right.
But then I was like, you know what, you need to start getting yourself set up. And this was in 2019. Getting yourself set up as official business and all of that. So I was getting that done. And then here come COVID. And then I'm just here sewing, doing lives, because I hadn't done lives, a whole lot of lives. I was doing the Wednesday chats 1 hour in and out. And I wasn't really doing like sewing chats. And so
Right.
COVID has changed that. And while I'm sitting here sewing, people were asking me, well, what about that tool? Where you get that from? And what do you do with that? And, and so as I'm sewing and using stuff, people were asking me about these particular products. And so I go, I'm a business now. Maybe I should be contacting these people to see if it's something that I can put on my website and make a store over there. So that's kind of what I did. So then I started selling stuff. Then I started getting into, I wanted to do more with African fabrics now that I'm comfortable with who I am.
Oh, baby.
And so then I started selling that during COVID, and people were interested in that. So then I started selling that on my website and found that people really like my kits that I make. And so now that I'm selling fabric, I'm at that point where I need to expand somewhere. And I have decided that I do not want to open a storefront. It's just too many things as a solo person. My family loves what they support me in what I do. They're happy that I'm happy, but none of them are really in love with quilting like I am. And I don't want people working for me that are not in love with quilting, because more mistakes happen.
Yep.
Or, so I just try to keep it at a minimum. And so I don't want to go through the whole storefront thing, but I'm thinking about trying to figure out how I can make a spot that's just for kit cutting. And that's kind of where I am. But in addition to that, I also run locally a scrap quilting club. I'm a member of 2 local guilds. And what else do I do? Oh, quilt retreat. I do quilt retreats. Now I tried doing, I have a major big quilt retreat that's every 2 years. It's normally in June. It's normally the 3rd week of June, but this year our dates were booked. So we're now in the 4th week of June, and it'll be in 2024, not this year, 2024, June 2024. I tried to see if people on my channel were interested in doing like a no frills retreat, which means when I have my big retreat, I have a 5-night retreat, and we have a bus trip somewhere. And so I will not be doing that. It'll be like more of a 3-night retreat and no bus trip. And so people, I had about 3 or 4 people sign up for that. I needed a minimum of 12. And so I just canceled that. And it seems like now that would have happened in 2023. And it seems like now people are wanting me to have something, and I have nothing because they didn't sign up ahead of time for me. So I wanted to do like the big retreat, because it can only take so many people no matter where you go. And it fills up pretty fast. And then I was trying to do another one for people that couldn't get into the big retreat. But I'll, check the interest in that again and see if people are interested. And then I'll see if I can get some dates, maybe in the fall, if people really want to do it. It just won't be on the same caliber as my big retreat. So,
right.
But I love retreats.
What all do you do at your retreats? Fill me in.
Oh my gosh.
Not that you got to sell me on it, because it sold itself by word of mouth. But tell me, from the onset of getting there, for a newbie like me that's never been, what would it be like?
On the first day of the retreats that I have, I tend to make it more of a welcome day. So it's not a whole lot going on the first day. And that's because when you got people, especially from traveling out of town, now if you're in a local area, then yeah, you can do more on the first day. But when you've got people coming in on trains, buses, and automobiles, and you got to, they're going to be coming in throughout the whole entire day. So my daughter, I hired her as the cuber. She was our cuber driver instead of our Uber driver. I'm one of those people that when I'm handling something, I do it 100. I did not want my quilters to be in a car with somebody that I couldn't trust. You hear too many stories on the news about Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, and things happening to them, things happening to the passengers. I wanted to make sure everybody got to the place safe and got back safe. So if you didn't rent a car or drive, I made sure you had transportation to and from. You had to pay for it. It was addition, because my daughter was, burning her gas going back and forth. But I made sure your transportation was taken care of. So people were coming in all the way from, let's just say 8 a.m. until it was, I think the last person got in about 11 p.m.
Oh, God
because
love
we had
her.
to
She
pick
had to be
somebody up.
whooped.
And so we got everybody in. So throughout the day, I just made it so that it was like people were go and meet everybody because we were all YouTubers. This one, I had a few people that were local that support me. They're going to come to my stuff no matter what. But most of them were from out of town. So I was making sure everybody knew who everybody was, because it's nice to put a face to a YouTube handle.
Yeah,
So,
it is. And I'm
and
learning that.
so the first day was that. And then I waited until after we had our first meal. Our first meal, well, we had 2 meals. I had an optional meal for those that got there early. I didn't want to charge everybody for a lunch meal. And so that was an optional meal. People donated $10 if you ate the lunch meal. And I had my sister cater that.
Oh,
And
that's
then
good.
for dinner was our first meal at the center. So then after that dinner meal, we came back, and that's when we did the opening, the official welcome to the retreat, went around and everybody stood and told who they were, where they were from, how far they traveled, how they got there, that type of thing. So we really got to meet everybody. And then I don't think we did much. Everybody was kind of in the mood of we're so happy to be here. Everybody
Right.
was excited. You tend to bring some of your own projects to work on.
Okay.
So that's Tuesday. My retreat start on a Tuesday. Wednesday is bus trip day. And we went to Missouri Star this year, which is a 5-hour drive out for us, which means we also had to drive 5 hours back after being in
Right.
Missouri Star all day. So it was an early morning, late. We got in about 10 o'clock at night. And then we also stopped and had lunch. So we had people just nibbling on things. I had given out snacks on Wednesday. That part of the welcome thing was you're getting particular stuff that you needed to get for the rest of the event. And then I also, on the bus, I told the people that were at my retreat, because I also had locals on the bus that weren't at retreat, but I told the people there, don't bring snacks on the bus. I got more snacks for you all. So I had snacks for the bus, because if you're out all day and you get hungry, you don't have to buy expensive food. If the food is expensive, then
Right.
you can just snack on these peanuts, this trail mix, this whatever I got. I had all kinds of stuff, and had bottled water for them as well. So that was bus day. And then we stopped and had a formal sit down dinner where we were served. And that was really nice too.
Oh.
So that's Wednesday. Thursday, I taught a class. I taught actually Stack and Whack, which is the original name that Bethany Reynolds came out with. And people are now calling it Kaleidoscope Quilts and One Block Wonder type things. But it's I call it Stack and Whack in honor of who I learned it from.
Right.
So I taught that class, and they did wonderful. We got a lot of people finished their quilt tops. I'm actually quilting one of my participants' quilt tops now. I got it in my queue to be quilted.
Oh,
and
cool.
then that was, so Thursday night, I was about tired at this point. I was taking a little break because I was having swelling with my feet from being on my feet so many days in a row. But I got up about 10 p.m. and said, anybody that want to learn how to line dance, we're meeting out in the hall. So we went and did a line dance class. And then every day for like maybe 40 minutes or so, we did line dancing. And then Friday was a local quilt shop hop day. I took them to 3 of my favorite quilt shops.
Oh, cool.
And one was in Illinois, and then 2, and we just carpooled to those. And that was Friday. And then we ate out as well while we were out on Friday. And then Saturday, we stayed in, because it was kind of like, if you want to go, I leave Saturday kind of open for people. If you want to go to the St. Louis Zoo, it's free. We got a wonderful free zoo that has just a donation thing if you want to on your way out. We have a lot of things that are great in St. Louis that are free. And so I wanted to give people an opportunity, if they wanted to run to some additional quilt shops, they could, but they wouldn't miss any official programming. So it was just, we did I did do one thing. I did sew some charity. I had a charity project for us, that those that stayed in and wanted to participate, we made those bags for that group that takes them, I
Is it
forget.
the So Powerful?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That's who I do them for. That's why when you
we
said
sent
those
about
person.
we sent about 30 bags to them. And what we did was had sewing stations, and no bag was complete when we walked out of there. I had to come home and get them all to the final stages, but we
Oh, God
did an
love
awesome job. So we did a charity project, and then Saturday night was our ending, and we do show and tell. And anybody want to say anything, anybody can get up and say anything. And then we also presented the line dance that we learned the other 3 or 4 days. They only had about 3 or 4 lessons to learn line dancing. So, and they did an awesome
sounds like
job.
a hoot.
Yeah, we had a great time. And then Sunday, you could leave anytime Sunday that you wanted, because I knew some people had early flights out. So that's why I closed it out Saturday. But Sunday, we were still there. It's like a 6 days, 5 night type thing. And so as people were gradually leaving, the room was just getting quieter and quieter. And, but we had a grand time. And I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to go on a quilt retreat with people that you have never met on YouTube, but you have been communicating with them in the chats, and it doesn't have to be my retreats, I'm saying go, because every person I met at that retreat left as a friend of mine, not an associate. There's a difference between an associate and a friend. All of those people at this retreat left as a friend. And I also opened up my retreat to men. Men have been banned from retreats indirectly. Nobody says it, but most retreats are always filled with just women. And I don't understand why, other than somebody sitting in this room with their pajamas on, but I don't feel like you should be in a general area with things that can't be seen by everybody. You can be in there in pajamas, but they got to be decent pajamas, not negligees,
Right.
So
ain't nobody wanting to see all this in that.
Right. I wanted to open my retreat up so that men that wanted to attend could attend, and not feel like you were not wanted or welcome at a retreat, because they have been the ones that have been banned from certain things. Even some quilt guilds don't want men in them. So I wanted to make sure that
so
wasn't
sad.
That I didn't want that for my retreats. So
absolutely.
There's a possibility that you'll be at retreats with men.
I don't care. I look at it like this. We all in machines. We're good. What's your favorite thing to make and share with your quilters at retreat or quilt festivals? Do you have a favorite thing that you like?
For us, like, just like
that you like to make.
I like scrap quilts. That is my forte. I have made and tried the 2 fabric and 3 fabric quilts. Now, 3 fabric quilts, if you're making them for charity, they are fine. They're awesome. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about making a star quilt and using 2 or 3 fabrics. Every star is the same. I lose interest in those type of quilts. They're beautiful. I can appreciate the workmanship. But if you want to capture my attention and hold it, give me the scrappy quilts, because I love color. I love different colors. I want all the colors.
That's me now. You got me hooked. My passion's just like,
right. I'm a color. I love color. I love scrappy quilts. I can appreciate a red, white, and blue quilt. But if I'm going to make a red, white, and blue quilt, I'm still going to use 200 different fabrics in the red, whites, and blues.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite quilt pattern that you like?
My favorite quilt block is actually Churn Dash, which is so weird. I am a traditional quilter overall, but I dabble in everything. I call myself the jack of all trades, because I've done trapanto, I've done machine applique, hand applique, with needle turn. I've done hand applique with freezer paper applique. I do paper piecing, all different methods. So I am a jack of all trades. And but I love the churn dash. It's a simple block, but for some reason, that's just one of my favorite. And it could be because it was one of the first ones that I did as well.
Absolute. Let me see. Busy lady. Joe, can I have the mouse? I need to, yeah, I'm trying to, it wasn't working for me here. I want to get back. Do you do other crafts such as crochet or knit?
I do crochet. I do not knit, and I do scrapbooking, paper crafting. I make scrapbooks for family photos when I get a chance. And I also like to make greeting cards, which I haven't made in a while. So one of my subscribers was really nice and sent me like a whole box of just generic birthday cards, because every once in a while I'd send out birthday. I was doing birthday drawings and sending people birthday cards. So I had a really nice subscriber, but I do want to get back into that because I just bought a brother scan and cut. So it should make it a little easier.
That just might work. Susie GSD says only 505 days until the 2024 retreat. But who's counting, right?
She's my retreat counter. She keeps me. I'm not stressed until she gets into like 60.
Susie, don't let her forget. Tag me in this when this opens up, okay? So Becca says, has T thought about virtual retreats?
I have thought about virtual retreats as far as like I don't mind doing like a one-day retreat where we're all at home and I might do a 12-hour thing or something like that. I have thought about that. It's just that every time I think I'm going to do one, something else comes up. It's so life. And if I hate to schedule something a month out and then something happens and I have to cancel. So it would be kind of a short notice thing if I was to do a virtual retreat. Just have a simple project that everybody can work on and we check in throughout the day to see our progress.
Absolute. Sewing Sensations by Shady Susan. Are the retreats always at the same place? And if so, where are they at?
Yes and no. My first retreat was in 2018 and I do them every other year. So then I was at a retreat center out in Hamilton, Missouri, which is by Missouri Star. So the retreat center that's there now wasn't available. And then 2020 was canceled. And so then 2022, I decided I do a lot for my retreat people. I bring a lot of stuff. And I decided that I was going to start having the retreats local here to the St. Louis area. And the reason is I had 3 SUVs filled with stuff for a retreat. If I'm bringing ironing boards, big boards, irons, all of your snacks, your water, just think of water for people on a bus trip like that.
Right.
I'm bringing all the door prizes and gifts that I've given. It's a lot. I had a lot of stuff that I unpacked for a retreat. And I'm saying to myself, you're doing too much to be driving 5 hours from home and taking all of this with you. So then I was able to have my family help me. I had 3 SUVs filled with stuff and I had people that could help bring stuff instead of me doing it all by myself.
Right. And that makes a difference.
Right. And so that's why my retreats now are going at this point or local. If I ever do a retreat, and I have been considering doing some retreats at other retreat centers around the USA, not just St. Louis, but it will be one of what I'm considering a no frills retreat. It won't be on the same caliber. And it might be at a place where we're all taking turns cooking. We all go to the grocery store and figure out what we're going to eat, that type of thing. So when you're at home, you can control a lot more than when you're away and you don't even know how far stuff is. So.
Absolutely. The sewing channel, you're a rock star at retreats, TeaQuilts.
Well, thank you. I try to make sure everybody enjoy themselves, and I get so busy, but I still try to make sure I go around and talk to people individually numerous times, just to see how people are doing, checking things out, because I don't want some other retreater to make you feel unwelcome either. So I'm constantly checking with people, not looking for trouble, but wanting to make sure everybody is still happy in this room.
Absolutely. Chiquita, yes, I had a great time at TeaQuilts.
Yes,
Great.
Shaquita did come. Yes,
I
her
love
and Bonita
her.
Nance came too. I saw Bonita in here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She was my swap partner with the Lisa Marie swaps, and
Okay.
she stole my heart. The girl's got some mad sewing skills, I tell
Yes,
you.
she does. Bonita is awesome.
Anita's here. So what about the pound cake at retreat and quilt festival? So
You
now
know,
tell me what they're dishing up.
that's an infamous thing right there. You know, it's a good thing and then it turns bad on you, you know. It's I make pound cake my family, and it's my started out as part of my grandma's recipe, and I've kind of modified it a little bit, but it's a pound cake with caramel icing, and the caramel icing is made from scratch. It's not the icing of boiling a can of milk. Okay.
Oh,
And
this
it
is
may
the
not
good
look,
stuff.
most caramel cakes are not the prettiest cakes, but when you start eating into a homemade pound cake and homemade caramel icing and everything in that thing is nothing good for you. Okay, but it sure tastes good while it's going down.
There
So
you
I
go.
call it the infamous pound cake because I don't give out the recipe, because at one point my daughter had a bakery going where she was using the recipe as her base for
Oh,
her, and so I don't give it out. And everybody has been trying to get the recipe to this pound cake, and the people that have had it, I mean, I saw the box sitting there on the table because I had it upstairs. Somebody brought the cake down. I'm like, okay, that's fine. They brought it down to the room. That's fine. And so then I go over there. I'm like, oh, I can go get a piece of cake. And I open that box up. They had not one butter knife, but two. And that box was empty. Okay. But
and
everybody that has eaten
no
that
one
cake,
knows where it went.
I have never had anybody that said they didn't like the cake. So it is,
Oh
I
my
feel like
goodness.
it's a very good, it's the best pound cake I have ever eaten, but then I make it. So, but
You know. Uh, Janine says, hi, sorry I'm late. Amanda did what I almost missed this. I was working on my elephant. We're just wrapping that up this Friday night, the elephant
oh, that's Mona
project.
did what? Hey, Mona.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
And anybody that came from my channel that's not a subscriber to Donna's channel, please subscribe to this channel as well. I appreciate you all doing that. I posted it in my Facebook group today. I
Thank
didn't know
you.
you had it set up, though. I would have put a direct link.
Oh, that's all right, doll. Let me see. I'm trying to the caramel cake. Oh, it sounds like I've got to take on this coming retreat for 2024 just for the cake. Yeah,
That is funny.
I'll have to bring my good
Somebody's
plasticware.
asking what brother scan and cut did I get? You know what? Brother scan and cuts can cost like $1,200 plus. Everything has gone up. You know what I did? I'm a very smart shopper, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna love the scan and cut. And I said, this is what I'm gonna do. And if I want to, I can upgrade later. I went to Facebook Marketplace, and you plug in whatever it is that you're looking for on Facebook Marketplace. And then I found one in a pawn shop of all things. He didn't even have anything else quilt related or craft related, but somebody came in begging him, needing money to get this machine. So I actually bought it at a pawn shop, and it's just the regular CM350E scan and cut. I think it was the second or third one they came out with. It doesn't have all the tray with the storage and all of that kind of stuff, but I can make a bag. Okay. So I don't need something to hold my stylus and my extra blades. I can just make a bag.
That's how I would be.
So, and that's what I'm doing. And I feel like I don't think I'm going to have to upgrade unless if I start using it to the intermediate level where I'm trying to do something and I can't do it. But I also have software that you can do a lot of manipulation in software. And if all you need to do is cut, you just cut.
Right.
So I feel like I'm okay, and I saved myself $1,000 or more than $1,000. So
the next question is, I have never been to a retreat with so many giveaways. Now that's funny.
Oh, that was so, yeah, I did. You know what? I had people, some giveaways were for me, and I was very clear on what I gave to people. I did not label. If somebody else donated, a lot of my tea quilters, I call my fans the tea quilters over on my YouTube channel. and they donated stuff. I had one lady made handmade soap. She donated it. Another lady went through her stash and said she wasn't going to use these things. There was nothing wrong with them. I'm talking about charm packs, layer cakes, jelly rolls. Another lady went to the store, bought pin cushions and put pins in them. When have you ever gotten a pin cushion and had the pins? She put a
You
pack
never
of
do.
pins. Yeah, and so I have a lot of great supporters. I had about 10 people. They were donating books. So everybody walked out with a book and a pattern if you wanted to. And I just put them there for you to select what it is that you wanted on the books and patterns. And if you didn't want anything, that was fine too, because everything was donated. But I have some great supporters, and I've learned from this past retreat that I don't have to do it by myself. And that's what my TeaQuilters taught me. It was really touching that they did that. They didn't have to do that.
And that means the world. I hate to talk dollars and cents, but the question has now come up. How much do you charge?
This is the thing. I had retreat scheduled for 2020, which I scheduled in 2019 for 2020. Everything since 2020 has gone up. I think we paid, I'm just going to say about $700 if you wanted a single room, and then a double in a room was like $575. And then we didn't have any, that's it, just singles and doubles. This time, the retreat center has changed everything because of COVID and cleaning and compliance, and their prices went up. I still don't know to this day what my retreat prices are going to be for 2024. It's supposed to have sent it to me in January, and I just haven't had time to contact her. But I do need to contact her so that I can get the actual number. She gave me some estimated numbers and told me that they could go up 5 to 10%. I don't like that. I want to give you a number, and I want it to be your final number. So I haven't even given a number to the people yet. So I am going to be working on that. I was trying to give her the month of January to not bother her because it's a new year. She's working with everybody, and I was trying to be patient. And so I guess now I'm done being patient.
It's time to knock on that door.
Yeah, it's time.
So the next one's going to be, and this come in the form of a text. The general rule of thumb, people get the feeling your first wave of your retreat, people get first dibs. Anything left over is offered up.
And that's kind of true. And I did state that on my YouTube channel. And that's because just think about putting your trust in somebody to travel 5 across, some people, California to Florida. I had people on both sides of this coast coming into the Midwest and trusting me, not knowing me, with 5 days of their life and paying money for that. Yep. So as a reward for that, a lot of people, I had over 60 people that signed up, and I depleted my wait list with people not coming. And even when I told people you want a wait list, please have your money ready, because I'm going to tell you, every retreat I've gone to, somebody has canceled the day before retreat. Have your money ready, be ready to go. And so as a reward for those people that did that, they didn't know me. They don't know if I was even going to have a retreat. I could have been collecting money from people and nothing came from that. Right. You could have came here and it could have been the worst experience of your life. But the fact that you trusted me with that. So anybody that did want to come back to the next retreat, it was stated at the last retreat that you're on the list. And then I gave them a deadline they needed to let me know by. So that is technically true.
So
I don't know what my openings are yet.
Right.
I don't know.
How many do you normally host when you're doing a retreat?
I'm doing 28.
That's a good number.
I'm having a group. I'm having my guild's gonna have a retreat there in 2 weeks, the President's Weekend. I'm on a retreat there, and I'm gonna count and look at how they're laying out this room, and then I'm gonna see if I can. We normally take 32 people, and I need to know how they got 32 people in that room, and if I can get that, because I do have some local people that could do day people. They could go home at night, and then it'll make it so that some out of town people can come. So if I can get 4 more people in the room comfortably, And I like for everybody to have their own table. That's my other thing.
Right.
I don't want you sharing a table with anybody. I want you to have, so you can have your cutting area set up, you can have your sewing area set up. And then I have big boards in 2 or 3 places throughout the room.
Okay, let me see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
So I'm hoping that there are some openings. I know that for a fact. I just have not advertised anything about it because I'm waiting to get the prices.
You're not telling anybody yet. The issue with T's retreats was that no one wanted to leave. Now that's a problem. She can't take us all home.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like surreal when it was time to go. You couldn't believe it had happened so fast, and you couldn't believe it was over. And people were just hugging. And even though we had COVID, we was like, forget it. It was very sentimental. That's why I said, if you ever can go on a retreat where you got some other YouTubers, you know people more than you think. And I would say, from just reading my chats, what I thought everybody was, they were that and a whole lot more. I just couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
Couldn't believe it.
The elephant looks good. Thank you so much.
Yes, your elephant does look good.
That was one I couldn't quit. You know, I had my 6 weeks. I like to do my FPPs, my large projects from start to finish in 6 weeks. And Tucker and I teach the FPP on my channel. So we did the lion, got it done. I wasn't jonesing too much for that. But when I started this elephant, I literally couldn't stop. And I've never had one like that. I really
Hey, Tiffany and so Becca, somebody's saying hi to them. I guess they're here too. Hey, y'all.
Yes, they're both in the house. Both y'all look real good on the big screen television, Melissa. Thank you. Let me see.
I don't know where we are.
I am just skimming down. Let me see. Tiffany's Quilting Life is in the house. Hello, doll, and welcome. Kathy's Quilts and Cruises. Hi. I was with clients, so now I'm super late. It's okay. You can always catch the replay. Linda Denton. Pre-pandemic, I put together a group, which is 30 to 50 people traveling internationally, a retreat, a group tour. It's a lot of work.
Yes, and I even thought about, I'm thinking and getting somebody to give me some information about doing a quilting cruise. Or
I've got a friend that does that.
I don't know if we're gonna quilt on a cruise or we're just gonna be quilters on a cruise, but that's the kind of stuff that I got somebody looking into. But if I need more help, I know where to go.
Absolute. They got good deals. Let me see.
If you've never been on a quilting retreat, I see Yolanda Hale down here saying she's never been on a retreat. I seriously recommend that every quilter for one time in your life, and I just pray that you get a good retreat. It's the best thing you could ever do, because when you're at retreat, guess what? People know that you're not home, so you don't get the phone calls, interruptions. You don't have to stop and make dinner for anybody. You go to bed whenever you want to. You do exactly what you want to do. So as much sewing as you want to do, you do. If you want to socialize, you can do that.
So there's no bedtime.
It's the best thing you could ever do for your craft if you've never been on one.
Yeah. So Becca says, hey, Miss TeaQuilts, Tucker's been trying to convince me to attend the retreat. I think I'd go to spend a few days with Kevin.
And Linda D saying she can help too. But anybody, you know, I'm looking for information. You can send it to me at TeaQuilts@TeaQuilts.com.
Yeah.
I make my email simple so you can remember it.
Londa says hi, Tiffany and so Becca. The only people I've met was T and Kevin. I was so blessed to have met the fabulous young man as a table mate. You know him as Tucker.
Oh yeah.
Tucker is a hoot.
You know, Tucker was, you know, he still is. He's a minor. And so he's in a retreat. He couldn't stay at the retreat center. So let me tell everybody that. He couldn't stay at retreat center because he was a minor. And so when he was at retreat center, I talked to Sue and asked Sue, would she make sure you don't know who you're going to meet at retreat. This was my first time with the largest, this group being this large, because I've had it smaller. And so I wanted to make sure that nobody did anything to Tucker.
You got to put him in a bubble.
I was protecting Tucker. So
I do the same when I travel with him. I'm like,
And so I just want to make sure that he's taken care of, and if he needs anything, because sometimes youngsters won't speak up. I think Tucker came and he was kind of scared to pull his camera out, and I think he knew some other stuff was going on in the background at retreat too. I was handling, so I think Tucker was kind of like, I ain't gonna mess with Miss T, but I. And then I said, Tucker, where's your camera? And so, but yeah, so it's a lot going on, and I'm trying to keep everything. I knew I couldn't watch him 24/7. And I didn't sick sue on him to watch him 24/7. I just wanted to make sure that he had a safe base, that when he sat down to sew, it wasn't going to be somebody that was trying to get something from him as a minor.
Yep, absolute. I don't know. Wait a minute. I don't know. I can book it officially, but a group of ladies is no problem. Okay. I can't swim no cruise for me. It's okay. We won't throw you overboard, Monica. I've never been on a quilting retreat as well at TeaQuilts. I'm telling you what, she's the bomb, Adam. She loves them.
Yeah, I love quilt retreats. I do. And eventually I might start having them every year. I don't know, but I try. Like I said, people don't want to do my no frills. They want the big thing, and so it just depends on what I can do.
My first retreat's going to be with Donna, and I can't wait. I'm hosting retreats a little bit in a little getaway in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Tucker told me that you all have been on some nice retreats. That's awesome.
So we're doing little ones, nothing big and famous like yours, but we get it done. We have fun. More shopping and gabbing than sewing, but we get her done. Sounds great. I did plan on swimming. Paid to get on the ship. Hey, I'm sorry if you can't swim. We won't throw you over. Wow, this might just be my first quilt retreat. Tracy, if you book with her, I'm going to try to get in too. So how cool would it be? A bunch of creators swarm this thing. We could have fun with Miss T.
Yes, and I do, like I said, I do have fun. And those that want to line dance, we do some classes. Now, line dancing, you can't be an early bird, because sometimes we didn't even start line dancing to 10 p.m. because it was so much going on in the day that, by the time it came for us to practice our little routine, it was late. But when you're on quilt retreat, like I said, people were up longer than they would be up on a regular night, because they didn't have to do all the worry about everybody in their household. They were free. So they knew we were going to be line dancing at 10. They were there. And they did an excellent job. So
before I let you go, I didn't realize I've kept you so long. Fill me in on how this is going, because I'm loving it. We haven't got to really talk about this, but I'm telling you what. You got my heart here, babe.
I am currently working on Boho Heart Quilt, and it is a sew along. The book is actually this is what it looks like completed. It's a pattern by Jen Kingwell, and Donna is part of this group. So you either purchased your book from me to get into the Facebook group, which is where all of the cheat sheets and tips are being put, videos are all over there, or you pay $15 so that you can enter the group. The book is $36 with shipping. And I am doing two versions, where one of them is a black background with multicolor prints. And then I'm using K-Facet fabrics. And then I'm also doing one where I've got this multicolor print, one fabric background. And then I'm using African prints. And Donna is setting up her back area, so you can see that she's also using African prints that she purchased from me. She has revamped what she's doing. She started out piecing, and now she's doing what I'm kind of doing, is just cutting chunks of fabrics and putting them together. I think it looks better in the African prints to just cut the fabric, because they are so beautiful and gorgeous on their own that they don't require a lot of piecing. So a frame here or there. But her board back there just looks awesome. When I first got on here, that's the first thing I noticed, was that those African prints in the back, and how beautiful she's laid out her blocks. I love it. I hope she's satisfied with that layout, because
I'm not satisfied a bit. That's why I already said, okay, don't hang up when we get done, because I'm jonesing for some more of the prints. You know, I love them.
Okay.
If you've not worked with this fabric before, I'm telling you what, you need to talk to T. This fabric is coming together so fabulous. I mean, there's just not enough I can say about it. The texture, the thickness, the overall, the waxiness, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is amazeballs. There's no other words I could say. I'm like off the hook.
Yeah,
And
when you first get African fabric, people think that it's very stiff. And so
It's
some people
not.
shy away from it. It is a stiff fabric, but as it washes, it gets soft just like regular cotton. It's just how it's made. It's made like batiks.
And some of these prints, like I'm going to show you one piece of fabric. This T and I just chuckle. When I hold this up, what do you guys see? Post it in the chat. It's adorable. And I'm just like amazed.
Hi, Jason.
I picked this out every step of the way, what all it was in, and I'm just loving it. And it's just the most pretty fabric, and the textures and the feeling and the way everything comes together. It's like I've got the hands of time here, and feathers. It's just
It's like
eyeballs. It's beautiful.
And the funny thing is, what people don't realize with the African prints is that they mean the fabrics, the prints in the fabrics, they mean something. And it may be hard to find every meaning, but there are like, you can Google certain websites and come up with what particular things mean in the African prints as well.
You got to look at the chat. They think it's a tomato.
A tomato.
I love you guys.
Okay. It's a
I'm
rut
hold it
row.
up one more time. And
It's a rut row.
Do you see?
Babies in a basket. Somebody, Yolanda.
Yes.
Close. Yes.
Now, is that not gorgeous?
And it represents motherhood.
Yes.
So when I purchase fabrics, I purchase the Wowzer prints, and then I also purchase prints that are not Wowzers, because you've got to have supporting members in any quilt. Everything can be, wow, I love this fabric. Wow, I love this fabric. So when I send you a bundle of fabric, I try to send you the Wowzers, and then I send you the supporting fabrics so that you have some kind of way of getting focus into your quilt. Because African prints can be overwhelming if you're not knowing how to use them and use them correctly. So I do have a few quilts. I made African Queen quilts, Scooch Over 2, which is a quilt pattern by Maple Island Quilts. I got sands. I got a quilt I'm calling the Sands of Africa. It's like flying geese. I got so many, I can't remember. But I love the African prints. I got the bento box, the Take 5. I'll sell kits on Take 5 kits with the African prints. I give you 30 blocks and I use 30 different prints. So yeah.
I'm telling you what.
Normal.
It's good.
Yes.
Let me see. Someone, Fred asked, I'm looking. Good evening, Miss T. Where are you located?
I am located in, our area, we just say St. Louis, Missouri. I am not in the city of St. Louis though.
Right. It just gives you the idea of.
Yeah, everything in the zip codes, you just say St. Louis on the envelope, it makes it there. So that's kind of what that is.
Kelly Cruises is leaving. She's got to feed the dogs. The debt-free quilter, Heather says, the way my life is going, motherhood is overrated. She's just a doll baby. She's got little puppies. She's got.
Can you read Kevin's comment before we leave? So he's a
I'm looking for Kevin's. Where is
he's a troublemaker.
I know he's in here, but I gotta find it.
He says,
"Oh, to the new channel."
New to the channel.
Quilts.
Right.
Kevin, I love you, buddy. I'm telling you, buddy, he is a doll baby.
And guess what?
He pops over with me, or he's over at Beck's.
I'm telling you, if you're in a room with me and Kevin and you're having a bad day, it's all on you. That's all I can say.
Amen. Because he cracks me up when y'all's together sewing. And I just love it when he starts singing or being goofy. I'm just like, I could be sitting here having a humdrum day and y'all, good morning. I'm just like, get it. Just get it. You guys are amazing.
So
Lucy.
thank you, Donna, for having me on here. I really appreciate that.
Oh,
And
you're
for
welcome. I
again
want to
for
make
your
sure I'm
patience.
not
So
missing anything. Kevin, you are too funny. You should look her up.
who told him that?
Kevin's
I
in the
appreciate
house.
them.
Yeah. From Kansas City is where the one question was. Oh my God, this is too funny. Not a
Thank you,
troublemaker.
Michelle.
Kevin is not a troublemaker. Just saying,
Uh-huh.
not.
When they have
Okay.
to type that, you know
So
what's up.
save me a spot if there's one open. I think we might have 3 spots gobbled up. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to have tea. I know I've overdone my live tonight, but I get the gab. You know how I am. When it's a good one, I just keep gabbing.
Right.
So
And we both are talkers. So
take care. God bless. And TLC over at her side. And you're always welcome back here if you're new. Bye-bye, guys.
thank you.
Thank you, honey.